There we go.
All right, now we're in business. Okay, well, hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back. If you were with us last week, welcome back. If you're new again this week, that's still okay. We'll get you caught up. We're going to do a little bit different prompts for learning how to use generative AI in our day-to-day BA work. And what we're doing is we are doing a case study on an insurance challenge. What it is I'll share just very quickly share the document with you that we are using. So let me show my screen just so you know.
I'm getting it for you, Ben.
Oh, okay. Very
I
good.
will load it to the.
We'll put that out into the chat.
There it is.
And let's see. You should see. Let me see. Let me stop for a second. Share. And you
Yes,
should
everyone.
see case
Feel free to
study.
tell us where you're joining us from today. We'd like to know, just how broad our audience span is.
So,
I'm from Montreal.
Montreal.
Montreal, great. All right. Well, here is the scoop on what we're doing. So this is a claim status notifications study, and what it is, it's kind of a business problem where we have an insurance company that's experiencing a lot of customer dissatisfaction with claims status. Their customers don't know what's going on with their claims. They have to keep calling into the contact center, and that's taking a lot of time, making the contact center do a lot of calls just to answer claim status versus working on what might be more important problems. It's chewing up a lot of their customer service time just answering, hey, where's my claim stand? Oh, it's waiting for an adjuster. It's waiting for a picture. It's waiting for this or that. Um, so, if you've ever done an insurance claim, sometimes it could take a little bit of back and forth for that to happen. And what's happening with this company is, their customers are feeling like they're kind of in the dark about what's happening with their claims. When they make a claim, they don't know what's going on. So we need some kind of a system to help them know what's going on with their claims. And we in here we have we have the different systems. They use Salesforce, they have a policy management system, they have a customer relationship management system, and it goes through all of this. It's about a 7-page document, and we shared it last week with you all. Hopefully, the people who are returning from last week got a chance to read this. Kind of helps you a little bit to understand what we are putting into our conversation with the GPT and what basis it's making its answers to our prompts from. Yeah, it's going to be making it from this document. And this is a type of a document that you would have after you've done a little bit of elicitation on a new project, something like that. So it's kind of, you're sort of getting the project off the ground. And, this is to help you start to create some other artifacts for your project, regular BA artifacts. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about, uh, we left off at risk analysis. We had our GPT create a risk analysis for the information in this document. What we're going to do today, we're going to load up the document into our GPT, and we're going to start with some other prompts. In this case, we're going to start with user stories. So we're going to take this, we're going to load it into our GPT, and we're going to create a user story from it. So I'll do it on the screen while you're doing it on your own screen in the background, if you could do that. Because what we'll do is we're going to kind of work on this together. So it's not just a watch and follow along. Yeah, this is participation. And we're kind of looking for y'all to, depending on what GPT you use, you might get different results. And we really like to discuss those and talk about, hey, what kind of results did you get when you run this? So in my case, I'm using Copilot. You might be using something else like Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, but whatever you're using, um, we'll look at our results. So
Hey, Ben.
yes.
I'm seeing a lot of names of people that were here last week. but I'm
Oh,
also
perfect.
people that were not here. So welcome back to those that were, and welcome to us. Ben Ling Join made it in. He's here.
Good. Yeah, sorry about the trouble we have. We always have trouble getting you into our meeting. I don't know why, but we got you
But
in.
anyway, if you were here last week, you go to the same Gen AI you were using last week, and on the left are your chats, and most of them and everything. You can click into the chat that you started last week, and it will remember everything that we did last Monday. And you will not have to upload the document again. If you weren't here or you want to start a whole new chat, whichever you want, um,
Mhm.
I did put the document in the chat. Here it comes again. Um, you can just start out that we're going to load this case study of this insurance claims notification system that the insurance company wants us to build. And we're going to follow that up with some prompts. So, um, with that, Van, we're going to
Yeah.
prompt four.
Yep, I'll show you, for example, if you're using Copilot, here's how you would do that. In my case, I'll tell you guys this. Um, the Copilot version I'm using is enterprise version for the company I work for. They don't keep their history of conversations for more than a few days. So like my conversation from last week about this is gone. So I got to start over, but that's no big deal. Um, uh, so what we'll do is what you do is if you haven't uploaded the info yet, then you're going to upload it something like this. And this is our case study. I'm going to pick that, pick open.
Van, I
That's going to,
also put the case study and the first three prompts
oh, in
uh,
the chat.
in the
Excellent.
chat to catch up anybody who wasn't here.
That's cool. And what we'll do today is we will go to our next prompt, which will be about user story generation. So I've uploaded the case study that we took a little peek at there. And what we'll do is I'm copying a prompt that we have, and that's just the prompt out into our in our chat over here to the right. Uh, so let me copy that over here, and I'm going to say over here from this document.
We're still looking at the document, Van. If
Oh,
you're,
you are. Hang
yeah,
on.
if you're loading it
Let
into
me share.
Copilot, then
Let me share again.
not seeing
Sorry about
Copilot.
that. Copilot. Here's Copilot. Share that.
There
Now
we
you
go.
should see Copilot. And from this document, create detailed user stories for insurance claims notification system from three perspectives. And within there, we've got, I don't know, we got about, I don't know, maybe 10 perspectives or something like that. So we got the claims adjuster, we got customer service, we got a customer, a claimant, and for each persona, generate 5 to 7 user stories following this format. So the key thing here is it's going to try to follow this format as a blank. I want to blank so that this benefit with acceptance of criteria, with acceptance criteria, priority, etc., can be generated. So uh, and what it's going to do is consider the business objective challenges and that are outlined and challenges that are outlined in the case study. So using this case study, generate this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go for that, send it, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, and so what we asked it to do, our first one was for Sarah Williams. So in my case, it came up with for Sarah Williams as a claims adjuster, because she's a claims adjuster. I want to change claim status in my workflow and trigger correct customer notification automatically so that I don't have to send separate emails or texts and customers stay informed without calling in. And that sounds like it's a pretty good answer to our problem. That's our big problem is customers having to call in to get their status. So it came up with this these stories. So story one click status update with auto notification, and it came up with these different acceptance criterias. Um, when I select any of the 14 status codes and claim track, that's our claim system, map it to the correct customer facing message template. Kind of cool. Confirmation shows notification was queued. If the status is in denial or payment issued, the system flags a certified email response and creates the appropriate fulfillment task. There's a little bit about that in here that some things in here, like denials or payment issues, you have to send a certified letter for them. So it's having it do that automatically. Um, if the customer is not consented to electronic messages, only compliant channels are used and the system displays TCPA compliance reminder. So that's kind of an example of what we have. Now, I don't know if we want to, does anyone else want to stop here and discuss? Want to, anybody want to show what they have? Um, I'll stop sharing what I have and you can share what you have if somebody else wants to share. And we'll talk about that.
I just put in the chat, I'm using ChatGPT and just a standard version that's available to everybody. I put after it gave me the user stories and everything, I haven't counted how many or what. Um,
Hmm.
it gave me this summary of it about how it supports the business case. You know, directly support 40% call reduction, enable NPS improvement, address adjuster resistant risk, and go through more and more. And then it says, if you'd like, I can next create a story map, add non-functional requirements per persona, derive acceptance tests, or align these to business objectives and KPI. So it's offering me different options of how it can assist me.
That is pretty cool. I'll page down to the bottom of this one too, just to see if it did anything like that. So it came up with, let's see, 6 user stories for the claims adjuster. It came up with one story for work interruption reduction dashboard. Interesting. Came up with for the sales rep, customer service rep. Uh, Came up with several stories. Like how many?
I've got
Six
six.
stories.
Yeah.
Customer claimant, 6 stories. Okay, here we go. So, and it could do more. So let's see, what else does it say you could do here? How these stories map to objectives and risks. This is kind of interesting. Reduce status inquiry call volume by 40%. Uh, Improve the NPS score. Operational efficiency, minimize adjuster clicks. That's interesting. Compliance and consent, data quality, adoption and change. Let me see. Let me drop down a little bit more and see what else it says. If you'd like, I convert these into a backlog spreadsheet. That's kind of cool. Convert these into Jira ready format. Ooh, that could be really good if you use Jira, um, which you might. Our company uses Jira. Uh, have technical tasks to each story and create a backlog spreadsheet. So, pretty good. I mean, if you think about, if you're reading that document and doing a bunch of research on your own and, figured out, and came up with these user stories, how long would that take you to do? Like if you're in the real world, you're writing all this stuff out. Now, granted, all this stuff, it's AI generated, so it's not perfect. It's a starting point. There might be some stuff here that's a little bit off track. But again, this is like what we've said last time. Hey, maybe this gets you halfway there. Maybe it gets you 75% of the way there. There might be some things in here, user stories that didn't think of that you need to add. There might be user stories that it comes up with, and this is the key one that I think is really great, something you didn't think of. So like it's kind of like a sounding board. So it could come up with user stories that you never even thought of as you were talking, and maybe you need to do more research on them. So for example, this state aware template selection. Maybe I didn't even think of that. I'm like, okay, I got to go back to the business now and talk about being state aware, and maybe I get some more requirements around that. So anyway, uh, pretty neat, pretty powerful to give you a start on some user stories. Now that
Did
being said,
anybody give, oh, Stephen, it gave me 6 user stories for claims adjuster, um, customer service rep, and 7 user stories for customer with bulleted acceptance criteria and priority status of each one. It's very nice.
yeah, cool. Now, did anybody get anything else? Does anybody want to share what they've got? They can and can do that. I'll stop sharing. You can share.
If I get anything significantly different or more user stories than what band got. Takers?
No takers? Oh, come on, you all are BAs. You're not shy. There's no wrong. This is a safe place too. Safe place. So no worries. There's no, whatever it came up with. And know that too, it can come up with stuff that doesn't make sense. So that's what you got to weed out. That's the really key part of all this AI stuff is it can come up with stuff that doesn't apply to you, doesn't make sense, and it can look pretty good and it sounds good when you read it, but it might not be right. So that's the work part. So you have to weigh that against you know, doing it all by hand. So if you did a solve from scratch, how long would it take you? If I had AI generate this for me and I know I got to tweak it a lot and I got to do some research and I got to make sure it's right, how long would that take me? Um, this is where you get the benefit. So it's probably quicker to get the starting point.
And
Yeah,
like you
that's a
were
question I
referring,
have.
go
Hey,
ahead.
yeah, yeah, I just had a question like what is your process? Because it's one thing to get the results, but then you have to kind of go through and make sure that everything is actually accurate. How long would that take you? What will be your process for doing that?
Yeah, so what you would do, what I would do, for this particular case study, one, I'd read the case study and make sure that for all these user stories, I'd read it in detail and make sure that these user stories agree with what's in that case study. Then number two, anything that I had questions about, I would go back to the stakeholders and uh, I would do elicitation sessions and talk with them, So I'm kind of making this my own. So it starts out, it's coming from AI as the starting point. I'm going to take it over. I'm going to make it my own, and I'm going to meet with whomever, uh, SMEs, the business, any of the stakeholders, and we're going to talk about all of these user stories. So you still got to do all that work. Um, so it's going to save you some time. It's not like, oh yeah, we can just do a project based on this thing that I generated in 5 minutes. You're still going to have to do all that work to make sure it's right. Otherwise, you're going to get off track. But in the old days, if you didn't do this using some kind of generative AI, it might take you a week or two to put this together, to just to give you a starting point. And you can do it in a day. So you still got to do that homework with your stakeholders is what I would say. And I don't know, maybe others have some different ideas or thoughts on that. Um, but you still got to do that work. So you're still gonna have to have meetings. You're still gonna have to discuss. You own these. These are yours. You've built them. Whether they came out of AI or not, you're responsible for them. You got to look at it that way.
Yeah, because I've noticed like with text-based responses, it's really good at giving you a nice foundation to work off of. But when I try to do things like diagrams, it can get kind of wonky, like spelling errors and just things that don't make sense. Yeah. Logic.
Yeah, for sure. Especially which GPT are you using?
Copilot.
Copilot. I was going to guess that. Copilot's a little tricky, little is not quite as good on diagrams right now as some of the other ones. Maybe like Claude. And the reason is Claude generates, well, I'm getting a little technical, but for right now, Claude can generate like Python code based on your stuff, and it can build a diagram that's got a little bit of Python code behind it that makes it look a lot better than what you get out of Copilot. Not sure. So this is going to be like I've said before, these different GPTs are going to be jumping each other back and forth with features, so on and so forth. Right now, Copilot's not that great on doing diagrams, but I'm sure they realize that, and I'm sure they realize Claude's better, and I'm sure they're trying to catch up. So that's true right now, may not be true in the future. Uh, but you're absolutely right. We see the same thing with Copilot where I work. When we generate diagrams with Copilot, they look kind of wonky. I mean, it's a starting point, but Claude generates better diagrams for now.
Yeah, thank
Anybody
you.
else got thoughts, ideas on that?
Scott put in the chat, the Copilot does Python when you use the researcher agent.
Ah, well, okay, good. Yeah, there might be ways to make it better. So that's a really good tip.
Well, if anybody, just that researcher agent is worth its weight in gold. So it's in the paid version,
Mm.
but it's done whole analysis on, say, a vendor due diligence, and it found stuff unbelievably like, I asked it, like, is there any, let's see, are they active LLC or whatever? And it went out to Delaware and grabbed whether it was active or not. It, I asked for whether, there's any litigation, if there's any social media, and it was pulling stuff like it was, I mean, it was unbelievable. And like, I just put everything in there now.
Oh,
It'll give
that's
you
cool.
like, and it takes time, right? This is not like it just shoots it back out. It takes time and it'll give you pages instead of just a small thing. So, but if you have a chance to play with that, or in other ones, it's called like deep mode or think mode, like AI deep mode in some places, but it's definitely worth investigating if you have Copilot.
Yeah, let me see. I'll share my screen with you too. If you have Copilot, I'll show. Like, I haven't used this very much, but let me show you this. Um, it looks like. Bum, 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 bum. Where is that thing? I want to show you the think deeper option in Copilot, which is maybe similar. And I'm not using it right now for this conversation, but if I did, I might get a different result. Um, yeah, this guy. So you should see my screen. If you use Copilot, you have this little, in our case, I have a little flag, a little option up here at the top. And this looks at, how it decides to answer your prompt. Automatically decide whether it's a quick response or not. Like you can pick quick response, you'll get a fast answer. You can let it go auto and it's going to decide how much time to take or how much depth to go into. And then think deeper is what you're talking about here is you would pick this if you wanted to really sit and think about its answer. So yeah, you know, uh, kind of a cool thing. Although that researcher agent is probably a really good thing to use. I'm going to take that as a takeaway from today. Start using that a little bit because I bet you that's got some good context in it that helps give you a better answer.
You want,
So
if, I noticed you don't have, you want me to tell you how to get it really fast?
I'm guessing you can get it down here from all
Yeah.
agents.
And
Yeah, yeah,
it's built in from Microsoft, but that is
yeah,
where you get it. So
yep. That's cool. Yeah, it'd be like if y'all are for Copilot, you can get agents here, but I'm sure the other GPTs have agents as well. So you can create agents. You can bring in the Microsoft built agents. Um, they're all sit out here. So these are the different agents that you can bring in. I've made some of my own just for, for different things. Like I made a PDF to XML converter. It's pretty cool, and it converts PDF to XML. Nice. Stuff like that. So you can do a lot of things with it, uh, but yeah. So let me go back to our conversation. Uh, back. Let me go. Hopefully I still got my conversation. There we go. Yes. Okay. Now, that being said, maybe I'm thinking we might want to go to our next prompt. We got 3 or 4 more prompts to do. So let's see if we can get through those, and we'll talk about them a little bit more too. So let me continue on here. Um, so now that we have our user stories, let's ask it for some other stuff. In this case, we're going to ask it about what we can do is we can have it review some of our user stories and kind of fine tune them. So what I'll do is I'm going to pull in 1 or 2 of a couple of my user stories, and you guys can do the same thing. So oop, let me do this. Mm. So what you do is go and in your GPT, copy a couple of your user stories, like 2 or 3 of them down. Or you could maybe refer to them. So I'm going to copy them in
Yeah, you could probably refer to them by the
by their
ID.
numbers. You could do that too.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll try that. So in my
yeah.
case,
My claims adjusters, they all said CA, and the customer said
yeah, maybe we'll give that a
UST.
try. So try something like for claim. I'll put the prompt out there. Did you already put the prompt out, or I'll put
I
it out?
just did.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
So
Appreciate that.
in this particular prompt, the parentheses they're about pasting 2 or 3 stories into this prompt. That's what Van is talking about. So you would want to take out that parentheses there. Actually, let's try referring to them as, CA1, CA2. Those were the numbers I was getting from my ChatGPT. And especially those that look just a little wonky to you, maybe just too vague, especially in the acceptance criteria and that. And here we're asking um, AI to refine those things, refine those stories. So this is another method you can use, if as you evaluate the uh, results you're getting back from generative AI is look at that and if things do look a little off or just you don't understand in particular,
Mhm.
then um, ask generative AI to help you refine that.
So in my case, I said review stories A1, A2, and A3. Identify any that are too vague, too broad, etc. that we got from the prompt. Missing important criteria. So it's going to go through these first 3 stories and it's going to critique them a little bit. So in this case, so status update with auto identification. It says category too vague or broad. The name assumes all 14 claim statuses will map cleanly to templates. But the case study notes regulatory variation. Okay. Missing ACs about what happens when data is invalid, when data, email, phone is invalid. Okay, so these are some of the alternate paths, it looks like. What happens when the customer has missed consent? Yeah, those are good. Potential conflicts, possible overlap with A2, missing edge error. Missing edge cases. Okay. Edge or error cases. Notification fails to deliver within 15 minutes because that was one of the things. So that's pretty good. So as you know, as we look at those use cases, it's this one's really getting a lot around, well, what are your alternate flows? What are your alternate things that can happen? It's making you aware of those. So kind of good. Um, it's doing some very similar thing on the other three, on the other two. So does anybody else have any they want to share or talk about what the result they got for that? And one of the key things here too, I think is really good is, it's pointing out some edge cases or error cases that I might not have thought of. I mean, maybe they apply to this or maybe they don't, but some of these do apply, like that 15-minute goal. That's one of the things that was called out in our case study was they wanted to have, 15-minute response time on any status update. And they also said they have 14 different statuses. Now, is every one of those viable to do that, or is it feasible to do that on all those? It's easy to say, it might be really hard to do. But anyway, that's the scoop there. So you can use it to refine your user story. So go through these bad boys and refine them, make them better. All right. That any questions, thoughts, comments about that? If not, then I'll go to the next prompt. Uh, so one of the things we can do too is we can have it give us some functional requirements documentation. So, you know, uh, based on the user stories, create me some functional requirements. So let's do what I'll do is I'm going to copy a prompt in. And Aaron, if you don't mind putting it out there into our chat, what we'll do is put this prompt in. Now I'm going to change it a little bit before I run it. So based on the user stories, generate. And what you could do here, like we did above, you could say do user stories 1 through 3. I'm going to say stories. So I'm just going to have it try to bring them all in and create detailed functional requirements, business rules that apply, data requirements, integration points, non-functional requirements. This could come up with some interesting non-functional requirements that you might not think of, and assumptions and dependencies. So let's run that and we'll see what we get. Okay, this is probably going to come up with a lot. Still thinking, still thinking.
This might go for a little while. Yeah, mine's already started. So I used all the user stories as well, Ben.
That's cool. Yeah, I probably could have cut it down and just make it run faster, but we'll see. Give it everything. Like in the real world, to make it be helpful for you. Like, hey, I want it all. Stick it all in there.
I'm just keep going. Sometimes
Yeah,
it
mine
takes
too.
a
It's
little
still
while.
thinking, still chunking away over here.
Mine's
Thinking.
into the non-functional requirements now.
I think mine might be done. See what we got. Yeah, mine's done. This one's done. So let's see what we got here. And I mean, and imagine, if you're, look how quick we made functional requirements with this thing. We made user stories. We made functional requirements. Now we got to look at them and see how good they are. Um, they maybe they're good, maybe they're not. That's going to be up to us. But let's take a look at our first at our requirements. So functional non-firewall derived from the approved user stories. Oh, in my case, it only did 1 through 3 because I had narrowed it down up above. But that's okay. That's okay. So that's all right. I'm glad it told me that. See if it actually did it. Um, and sometimes, if this thing gets off track, you have to start over. Just be like, I wanted them all. I didn't want just 1 through 3. You just would have to correct it. So overview looks pretty good. And then it's got functional requirements next. And it talks about how it's going to number them from FR1 through whatever. So in my case, it's going to do first functional requirement when an adjuster saves a claim status in the claim track system. Any of the 14 statuses? Yeah, good. The system shall raise an event to the ESB. That's the if you look at the document, that's the interface system that helps the systems talk to each other at this enterprise. Um, claim ID status, timestamp, etc. Pretty cool. And it also references back here in the to the case study that it used to get that information. Status to template mapping, consent and channel resolution. Before sending any notification, evaluate the customer's consent, because one of the things in here that it talked about was the customer needs to consent to whatever kind of notifications they're going to have, SMS, email, or not, none of the above, in which case you're going to have to mail them everything. Contact validation gate, interesting. On the first send attempt for a claim, the system shall surface email, phone values from ClaimTrack, Policy Pro, and Salesforce. Highlight discrepancies. Oh, okay. One of the things that they have in here, one of the challenges that they had in this case study is that their Salesforce system isn't completely integrated with their policy system yet. So this causes problems with their with the status of things. So that's one of the first things these guys have to do is if you want this to work, they're going to have to make their systems be integrated with each other, especially Salesforce. It's a new system and it's not completely integrated. So that's what they're talking about there. Kind of a little bit funky, but I see why it got that. So anyway, those are some of the things that came back for mine. Does anybody have any they want to share or talk about? Did anybody get anything funky that doesn't make sense? I'll look down through mine and see if there's anything funky that doesn't jive. Certified mail enforcement, that looks good. Time frame and audit trail.
Right, we have to jive.
Data sync, yeah, data sync came up again. It's good that that keeps coming up because that's a problem. Customer service rep visibility, that was another problem. That goes right along with that integration. Governance, user experience constraints. Anyway, so there's the functional requirements. Then we got business rules. Let's see what kind of business rules it came up with. Business rule 1, consent rule for how you want to be notified. That's pretty good. Certified mail mandate. Channel priority rule. Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, about how the customer wants to be notified. What priority should the channels be? Delivery SLA rule, frequency. Not bad. One of their key things they were trying to get out of this is they were trying to get something like, I forget what the percentage was, 80% of their customers or something like that to sign up for electronic notification. That's a challenge. Data requirements, what data is required. Integration points, that might be interesting. Claim track, Policy Pro. Oh, SMS Twilio, that's what we're using for SMS. So that's kind of good. Non-functional requirements, performance. These are going to probably come up with, oh, this is pretty good. 95% notifications delivered within 15 minutes. That's one of the things that we had. Support a monthly average of 8,000 claims. That's something that came out of the document. So it's all pretty good, assumptions. They might have some funky assumptions in here. Compliance will provide jurisdiction on specific templates. Certified mail vendor can be integrated. That's a good one. And then all of our dependencies, a traceability matrix, open questions, next steps. So, I mean, this is a big one, a lot of stuff. You're starting to get into, you could be building your project from this. So anyone have questions, thoughts about that, things they want to discuss? All right, I'm going to move on then. Now, another thing we're going to give a try is a traceability matrix. So what we'll do here is we're going to see if we can have this thing create a requirements traceability matrix for this information. So we'll see what we can get. So, in your day-to-day work, typically, you're probably doing traceability of some kind, using some system to do that. In this case, we're going to build our own for this one, but if you had, depending on what your traceability matrix looks like, you could plug in the pieces of it and have this thing build you probably a template that you might be able to import into your traceability. So um, we're going to give that a try. This one's just going to build us a simple traceability matrix for our requirements. So if you're like me, I spend a lot of time doing traceability. If I can get something that'll get me started or help me out with traceability, I'm all about it. So it's thinking. Okay, so for traceability, still thinking. Okay, got a matrix here, so let's see what we got. So requirements, traceability matrix for the claims notification system, links business objectives, user stories, functional requirements, system components, and test scenarios. Wow, pretty cool. I don't know if it's probably not perfect, but man, it is a great start. So this is what we got. I can go down to the bottom. Let's see what it has for titles. So one thing about this is you have to go down to the bottom so that you can go across. So it's giving us business objectives, user stories, functional requirements. And let me go down to the bottom here. And I can go across and see what else it gives us. It's going to give us, oops, go back up. It's going to give us user stories, functional requirements, system components, and test scenarios. So, it's kind of building us all this different traceability, which is kind of cool. Might be a really good starting point for your traceability. You probably wouldn't just use this verbatim, but you could use it as a starting point for yours and fill in uh, a lot of your traceability, ahead of time. Notes on bidirectional, oh, top down, bottom up. Let's see what else. Artifacts referenced above, the different objectives, the user stories, the functional requirements. That's kind of good that it gives you this. And if you'd like, you can export it to Excel or whatever. So if you exported it to Excel or to a comma separated file, you could upload it into just about anything. So uh, kind of cool. Does anybody want to share or talk about, what they got for this? Oh, I can't hear you, Aaron.
Yeah, is everybody doing the exercise? I mean, we don't want this to be a demonstration. We want you to actually do it. So Stephen shared with us, and so Scott. Um, they're
Even if it's,
definitely doing it.
yeah, this safe place. No, there's nothing, no wrong answer. So yeah, and it, even if you want to go back to one of the previous ones that we've done, we can certainly do that. We got a little bit of time. Um, so
That's when ChatGPT was first announced, and for months after, a lot of BAs had a fear of I'm going to get replaced by AI, and I don't hear that so much these days in the market, but it is still out there, and I will respond with. You will not get replaced by AI. Somebody's got to prompt, somebody's got to check the results and that. But you may be replaced by a BA who knows how to use AI because they are more efficient, they'll get things done faster, and they're more value to their company. So that's why we do this. We want you to learn to use AI, start using it for your actual business analysis tasks, not some side project or something. So I think
all
with that,
right.
man, we can wrap up for this
I
week.
think we can yeah. Now let me ask you all this. Any questions, any thoughts, concerns, observations about what we've did today? And I'll tell you too, next week we're going to talk a little bit we're going to make some diagrams. I bet you my co-pilot is probably not going to make very good diagrams. So if somebody else is using something like Claude, we might be looking at your diagrams. It'll build diagrams. I'm not sure how good they're going to be, but that's okay. Know that, it's going to try. So uh,
I do have
next
a
week we're going to talk a little bit about building some diagrams and things like that from some visuals from this information. This has all been words so far. Uh, any thoughts? Anybody? Now let me ask you this: does anybody not see the power of this? Not, that, it, like, are you thinking, oh, I don't know how this helps me? Uh, Let me know.
well, I have a question. Do you guys have like a set of prompts like, that are best practice that you found like Aaron, you have all these prompts. Have you been using these like day to day, like you have a full set of prompts that you use, or you've been playing around with them? Like, where are you on your journey, so to say?
Yeah, I can tell you what we are doing, what I have so far, and I think we're, in my business, and know that, hey, I'm not an AI expert. I'm a BA just like you guys. I'm not 100% dedicated to AI stuff. I do a little bit where I work, and one of the things that I think that we're going to do, we haven't done it yet, is we might be having a library of some prompts like that. We haven't built it yet, but that's a direction that some other companies are going is, and to some extent you can build those into agents. So whether it's a prompt library or an agent, you can build some of that stuff out. We haven't done it. I haven't done it with my company. I know of some companies that do, but that's a very good observation is you can, depending on your work, come up with some good prompts that you might want to keep out in a library for other people to use or put them into an agent, depending on what you're working on and how you do your work, especially if you're referencing certain materials or things like that and you want to always do it the same way. You could do some things with a prompt library that would help in that area. We're not doing that yet, so I don't have anything built, but we are thinking about it. We are probably going to be building something like that. So that's coming. I just haven't done it at my company yet. Has anybody done that? Does anybody have that type of a thing at their company that they've started to build? Prompt library or agents or things like that?
Are the results always consistent based on prompting?
No, they won't be. It depends. Now it all depends on what they call the how creative your model is allowed to be. So depending on how your model is set up, it can be pretty creative in coming up with answers. So even with Chat GPT, if you ask it the same question twice in a row, you may not get the same answer because think it's all probabilities and letters and words that go together in groups. So if you allow a lot of creativity uh in your generative AI setup, then it's going to give you different answers. If you don't allow creativity, like you put your creativity really down low, then you'll get more consistent answers. But it's not like a program where, you're putting input, output. It's always going to be the same. Like the same process is going to happen in the middle. It's never going to be the same process in the middle because of all the probabilities, unless it's something very, very small. Then it might give you the same answer every time, but it won't. And that's part of this. That's part of this too is, um, even though you build this prompt library like we're talking about, yeah, it's not going to give you a consistent answer every time. It's not going to be perfect. You may in your prompt library say, hey, I want it to refer to these SharePoint documents or something like that that you have for policies or things like that or templates to help ground it. But that's where, in order to get an AI result that is consistent, you have to ground it in some data. So maybe policies, procedures, templates, things like that. You could ground it to get more consistent answers versus just going out to the whole World Wide Web and getting an answer. You can ground it in your data. So that's what you would do if you want to get consistent answers. Hopefully that
Um,
helps.
so absolutely, Ben, and to answer Scott's question, and that is these prompts that we've used these last 2 weeks and will over the next 2 weeks, we wrote the case study first, and then we basing the prompt off the case study and what the many things we can ask for, not just requirements. And you're going to see when we get into the diagrams, the first week we didn't even touch requirements. We touched risks and we touched other things. Today we touched requirements. Now we're going to get into context diagrams and other models that BAs write in that. I would say that if you're going to make a generic prompt library, you would certainly want to specify that the BA has the um, editorial liberty to adjust those to a specific situation and everything. And I would think the most value of a prompt library would be in structured prompt, have a well-structured prompt, um, you know, um, to prompt AI for a lot of information in one prompt. And though that might be a value, but being able to adjust a generic prompt to a particular situation, I think would be necessary.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Things to discuss before we let everybody go? Questions? All right, I'll stop sharing my screen. And so, like Aaron said, next week, we'll continue on with this. We're going to build a few diagrams and things like that. We'll see what kind of results we get. Might be exciting, might be interesting. We might come up with some hallucinations. We'll see. But thank you everybody for meeting today. Thanks. Hopefully, you're getting a little bit of hands-on learning out of this stuff. And this is really it's for all of us together to kind of learn a little bit about AI, kind of get your hands dirty. So hopefully, this is helping you along to not be afraid. Not I shouldn't say not be afraid, but to help you feel a little bit more comfortable using AI. And anything that you want to discuss at these sessions, just bring it and we'll talk about it.
It's a tool. It's a powerful tool. We use a lot of the tools at our BA work in that. This is just another one, maybe one of the more powerful ones. So, use it, make yourself more effective and, more valuable to your organization.
All right. Well, thanks
All right.
everybody. You have a great rest of your day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.